It's your boy Motivation on Wheels. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Deep in the Trap, and we back with another episode. And this time we got something special for y'all. We got Mrs. Kimberly Clinkscale, the founder of Shepherd of All God's Children, and she gonna give y'all the blueprint on how she started a school with only just $1 and 2 students. Come on, y'all, let's welcome Miss Kimberly Clinkscale to the trap. So we're gonna welcome Mrs. Kimberly Clinkscale to the channel. How you doing, Mrs. Kimberly?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm blessed. First of all, I want to say thank you for allowing us to be in your office or your school, period.
Yes.
And then thanks for the time. I know you could have been doing something, you know, other than sitting down with me. So, like I said, we're just gonna walk through the journey and basically show somebody that maybe want to start a school business, get into the school business of their own. Like I said, we built a no excuse platform. So this is definitely, like I said, gonna be different. So if you want to just tell everybody your name, of course, and then where you're from and a little bit about how you got into the school, like what made you want to venture off into it?
Yes. My name is Kimberly Clinkscale. I have 4 children. My oldest is Shannon and Gabe, Kelly, and Shantae. I have 4 grandchildren. And how did I get started? Wow. Through a dream. Came from a background with a troubled home life. Father drinking a whole lot, and we seen a lot. So I always wanted to work with kids. Always wanted to work with kids. And I had a dream that I was surrounded with kids, 1999, at the old Delaney Center in Warren, Ohio. And I woke up and I said, I'm gonna get that building. And I got that building. And it's a long story, so I don't want to really tell you in deep, but I'm just gonna skip and just share, you know, what happened through the dream. Through the dream, I was working at Warren City Schools as the community liaison.
There we go.
And from there, I seen a lot in the school settings. I seen a lot of the kindergartens getting kicked out of school. And I wanted to do something different. I wanted to start something to be able to help these kids. You know, you had single moms, father in prison, you know. The education was not at a high scale. You know, some of them, you know, dropped out of school at 8th, 9th grade. So I wanted to do something different.
Talk about what were some of the obstacles that came along this journey, because like this is something different, and being a black woman, like that's what I kind of left out. Like I know that it came with a lot of doubt, a lot of people telling you it wasn't going to work, and so talk about that a little bit.
Yes, when I first got on the scene, after I got the building, it was a lot. I had to deal with the state and came in and gave me a lot of problems, nitpicking, making sure that the building, because it wasn't a beautiful building, but if you had dust, she would check. She would just slide and make sure it wasn't no dust. You know, she was saying that the building was kind of damp, but it was hard, you know, having them to come in. Even stated that they wouldn't even give us our license when we first started. So we had to go through at least about 6 months before we even got our license. And just getting the building the way they wanted us to get it. But being in the city of Warren, I knew a lot of people who had preschools, after school program, and our building was probably the same.
So you leveraged some relationships, but also, and that's good because you just stuck with it, and you stuck it out, and you just pretty much just followed your passion and didn't let nothing stop you, because that's what happens in business, period. You know, people come through little bumps and bruises, obstacles, or adversity come, and then it's like, you know, I give up. But also tell us this though, because I also read that you got to school for $1, and it wasn't that, you know, the school, you seen the school for sale, like you actually was, I don't know the guy's name or whatever, but the guy that said, if you got $1, let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay. It was in the city of Warren. Went back, I was on my way to work. And I seen them cleaning out the building.
Right.
I said, let me turn around and talk to him. So when I went to talk to him, I told him, I said, I told him about you. I said, I had a dream and I really want to help kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in our area, a lot of them can't read. You know, math is a struggle, and them is the 2 points that we need.
Math and read, yeah.
So he told me, he said, no, I'm going to start a bingo hall. But you're more than welcome to come work for me. Wow. And, you know, you can use the money to start another building somewhere else. I told him, I said, no. I said, I want this building. Mm-hmm. You know, so I went back 3 times. But the last time I went back with some boldness. Mm-hmm. And I told him, I said, listen, I had a dream and I said, I know God is in this. Right. And I said, listen, I need to have this building because I said, I'm in the inner city with a lot of the kids that need help. And I said, I'm just telling you. So he said, you're a woman of faith. And he said, you're not going to give up. You're not going to stop. So he said, I'm going to give you this building for $1. Right. So that's how I started. From in Delaney Center at an old building that was a youth center. And then what happened was, it was shut down for about like 10 years. Mm. And so when we got in the building, we just started the process.
So now, because again, people that's watching it, they probably like, oh, she probably had some financial backing. She had good credit, this, that, and the third. Tell us, how did you get the money for renovation to get that school up and running to where you could actually get it operating?
Well, I used to work at Warren City Schools. I was a community liaison. I went to the director of Warren City Schools, and they wrote our first grant for $30,000. So that's how we started. And then with the remainders of the money, me and my husband took our 401k, and we started building the program. Wow. So that's how we got started with that. So,
and then once you guys got it renovated and whatnot to where you guys can actually get students in and whatnot, you didn't have all the what we see now. You started only with 2 students. Let's talk about starting with those 2 students, and then let's talk about where did you even get those 2 students from? The parents to believe in you, the parents to say, you know what, this lady don't have no school or no big school. Like, let's talk about that a little bit.
What happened was, I'm always in the community.
Right.
So I began to knock on doors. And I began to tell the parents. I went in the inner city, in the Trimble homes, in the Fairview Gardens, you know, so knocking on doors, letting them know I'm here. I'm in the area, you know. You have kids that are lacking in any kind of area, please, you know, come see me. I gave my card. And from there, just continue on knocking on doors, going to churches, telling my story, what I want to do, how I want to do it. It started blowing up, you know, just by talking about myself and what I had to go through as a young lady, going through my father and mother, you know, drinking, fighting, you know, no food, you know, in the house, holes in our shoes. So I wanted to deal with kids like me. And I wanted to go after every parent that feel that they was worthless, that they couldn't do anything. Right. So it just started. And when it started, it just started growing and growing and growing and growing.
How many no's did you get before you get to that one yes? Like, how many doors was closed in your face? Like, lady, get out of here. Crazy.
We did get a lot of no's. They wasn't interested, you know, in there, but a lot of them, we got more yes than no's because they was ready. They were ready to send their kids somewhere. Kids were getting kicked out of school. A lot of kids with autism, special needs, behavior problems. The schools was kicking them out, and they didn't have anywhere to go, but with me.
How was you able to pivot through the no's to keep pushing? Like, what was it that was pushing you to say, you know what, I'm not stopping until I get what I want?
It was God. I am a believer, you know, and I just prayed, you know, He the one gave me this vision. So I wanted to make sure that I follow the vision and do what He's telling me to do. He told me, you're going to trust me? Are you going to trust the people who say no? Are you going to trust the people that say yes through me? So I said, I'm going to trust the people who going to say yes to me. And every time I got knocked down so many times, you know, being a woman, being a black woman. I had a socials degree in early childhood. The teachers that I had master's, doctor's degree. So they feel that, how's she going to do this? She don't really have anything.
Right.
You know, I was afraid to really speak a whole lot. So I made it quit. Until I started getting stronger and stronger and stronger.
So, because me and you are even though you are older than me, kind of grew up in the same situation. Mom, dad on drugs. My grandmother raised me. So growing up wasn't the best situation for me if it wasn't for my grandmother. Let's talk about some of the things that you experienced far as to growing up to made you know, like, because it started like this started from when you was younger.
Yeah.
Like, so let's talk about some of the experiences that you made that went through, like, that made you like, you know, this is it for me. Like, now, I'm making sure that this don't happen to another kid, or if I could just save one kid's life, then, like, let's talk about that, because that's big.
Well, with me, like I said, I seen a lot. And I didn't want to be, when I grew up, I wanted to be able to have a family, to raise them, to teach them, you know, the goals of life. I didn't get that. Like I said, it was trouble. I couldn't really sleep because of the fighting. You know, I was hungry. Right. You know, I got teased when I was in school. You know, it seemed like it was no one out there to be there to help me. And I wanted to survive. And I met a pastor. There was a church across the street. I met him. And I began to tell him what we were going through. And this pastor, Archie McMillan, was at our house every day and making sure that we were safe, making sure that we had food. And it's like my path, you know, began to get a little better because I knew I had some strength. So I was a little girl that I stayed in the woods.
Okay.
And I had a make-believe friend. Name was Saney. And I went back and talked to Saney everything that was going on in my house. And I said, I don't know what to do. Had my little baby dolls, and I'm thought that I was really talking to somebody like me and you talking. And it was real back there. And I was safe back there. You know, so just being back there was just, it was peace. But in my home, it was trouble. You know, it was a lot of crying and, you know, a lot of fighting and things that we seen with mom. And, you know, my heart was broken. I was just, you know, being as a young girl and seeing your mom, black eyes, beating, fighting, you know, going in their fridge and no food in there. It was rough for us. It was 7 of us, and it was rough for all of us.
Not only did they make it hard for you to just be able to cope, just be able to focus in school and just be able to focus in just society, knowing, like, just seeing other kids going out. But see, where you were blessed at was because you learned to use that as fuel to motivate you, or I should say inspire you to help others. Most people, or some people, use that as an excuse to, or my mom was in, or my mom and dad was went through this, so this is a lifestyle I'm live, or turn to drugs, or for instance, they turn that same behavior and they start beating on their kids or beating on their significant others. But see, you, like I said, you use that to inspire you to help others. So now, now we back at the school. So with these two students, like, did you already have? Was you the first teacher? Was you the teacher, the principal?
I was the principal.
You was everything, or you already had somebody that was teaching too?
Yes, we did.
Okay, let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay, I had one teacher. I had one secretary, and I had one paraprofessional.
What's a paraprofessional?
It's a teacher's assistant.
Okay.
And we started with that. Like I said, we started out with 2 kids, put our heads together, continue on knocking on doors, continuing going to churches. I was dealing with a lot of the Catholic churches.
Okay.
And the diocese that really, when they heard my story, they really ran with the story. And they helped us financial. It's just really trying to get things together. Our only income was through job and family service. So we knew we had to get more money with our grant so we can be able to make it. Gotcha. But it began to grow because, we began to just continue on talking and getting the word out, flyers. So it was a lot of that.
So before you moved from that location to over here, talk about the tragic moment that happened for you. What made you move from over here? And then how many kids were you at before you moved from Warren to here?
We had over 100 kids in Warren. But from Delaney Center, we ended up building our new facility. And, from there, our building in Warren collapsed. And it was devastating. All of our kids, we knew we were going to lose kids. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
So we were like on top of a situation that I was like, I don't know. I mean, it's like my back was against the wall. What do we do? Teachers was crying and, a lot of the families said they don't want their kids in Youngstown. And so once again, just praying to say, God, which way you want us to go? And so we end up moving all of our kids here and our enrollment dropped. Because all of our kids was from Trimble County.
Right.
Really didn't know a whole lot in Mahoney County. I got married to move in Mahoney County, but I knew everybody in Warren.
Right.
From the mayor all the way down to the health department, fire department. I had a relationship with all of them. But when we moved over here, it's like I'm starting all over, really getting my name out there, and it's more trouble. Yep. So it's not easy when you get ready to start an organization. And I know even with you, now, in a wheelchair and you're still fighting, you're still plugging in, you're still saying, I'm not going to give up. Right. Now I can tell my story, just like I'm asking her questions about her story. Right. I can tell my story and let her know, we in this together. And we're going to be able to, move mountains. Get the kids that's out there that's going through the same thing that we're going through. So I think that if we come together and try to make this thing work and you begin to tell your story and I begin to tell, my story, and then, you got DA over there, telling his story. I think that with all my teachers, we coming together. I always say I can't do this on my own. I need a team. So I can't do it by myself.
That's what me and him talk about all the time.
Yep. So
we talk about that all the time. Team is important. Since we're talking about team, how important and how big of a team do you need for this at least a school, but it's still a business. So how big of a team do you need for this business to operate?
I need all my teachers. I need my principal, my secretary. We all together. So if we have a problem with one of our students, we come together and try to find ways to help that student. I deal with a lot of kids out there that they're struggling, no food, come in dirty. They just need extra help. So we come together and we make sure that every kid, when they leave out of here, they got the help. Because we put our heads together to make it work. So when you said the question, how many you need? I need everybody at this school on board because all of us play a part in that child's life.
I like that.
So
I like that. One thing I read too also, which was big for me, you said what makes your school different from other schools that deal with autism is y'all teach the kids the way they learn, not the way that y'all want them to learn. Let's talk about that and what made you come up with that concept and that strategy.
Well, I have one student who came to our school and had cars, but he would go up underneath the table and he didn't want to be around anyone. He was afraid. So I decided I'm going to go up underneath the table. I'm going to go with him.
Right.
I'm going to teach him how he likes to learn.
Right.
So we use the cars and we used it for math,
Mm-hmm.
and we just put strategy together. So I was up underneath there, and I was doing everything that he wanted me to do. And I got that young man to no longer be up underneath the table, but to come out to begin to sit at a table.
But Mrs. Kim, though, it's different, though, because these kids, what you getting these kids to do, like basically, like the other kids, like, so this is, I just now thought about this. Like, is the other schools calling you, like, hey, Mrs. Clinkscale, like, asking you for advice? Because, again, like, you guys kids that's coming in one way, leaving out another way. You got kids that's coming in not knowing how to read and math, and then they graduate. And like, so it's a little bit more to it. Like, so I guess what I'm saying is, like, what's the strategy behind the overall for you to make this transformation with these kids?
It's first is with the parents. It's
There
the
you go.
parents. If I can get to the parents and get the parents on board, we got them.
Okay.
We got them. So dealing with other schools, funding comes with it. So being a private school, we don't get the funding that the regular schools get. And then we taking funding away from the schools. So, it's going to be hard. I look at it different. Every school deals with the same situation that we deal with. Some of them might be rough, but one thing about us, we don't give up on them. We don't kick them out, and I don't put any schools down. My focus is here at Shepherd of All God's Children Learning Center, and what we're going to do and how we're going to make a difference in these students. So once we do that and get the parents on board, we have some knuckleheads sometimes,
Right.
but through it all, they're good parents, and they don't know, and they only know what they were taught. And if they was taught the way that their father used to treat them, it's a generation curse. So it's just going down the line. But who's going to stop that? Who's going to stop that bleeding? Who's going to tell them that you still can make a difference? Just because your father was out there, that don't mean that you got to continue on doing what your father done. So it's just a generation curse. So you just got to cut that off, and they have to believe in themselves. They have to believe that they can do something different with their children. And so that's what we talk about. I always encourage them and say, listen, I don't care. I had him come in here drunk all the time, but he loved his kids, but he didn't know how to get to his children. So my thing was saying, listen, I'm here to help.
All right.
I'm here to help. We're here to help you with your children, and every child, I don't care if they smelling. I don't care if they dirty. If they want a hug, I give them a hug. I give them one of the biggest hugs, because that might be the last hug that they get.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Like, this ain't even just, like, how you are is not just even for the camera, because also you fought with the school systems, even with far as the transportation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, far as the getting your kids over here, I seen that you was trying to get, when the tragedy happened, you guys was trying to get the kids over here, and some of the kids couldn't make it over here, and they tried to give them $250 to get the kids back and forth for school for the year and whatnot, and you fought against that. Like, so when you go into war for your kids, like, because these are your kids, like, what's the mindset behind it, and who is you huddling with before you lace up your boots?
I feel like, it's an army. They say it takes a village to raise a child. So we all was fighting together, even with the busing, even with the $250. None of our kids got the $250.
Right.
It was just, it's so much politics in the world. And I can remember when they said, no child left behind. It was a lot of children left behind, because we got to stop putting so much politics in and start fighting, because there's nowhere for these kids to go. Nowhere. They took everything away. We have kids here in the parking lot. They don't have nowhere to go. So what are we going to do? We're going to just focus on one school. There's many children out here. Don't focus on one school, just the color of their skin. And if you feel that they can't do it, you feel that you don't have the right teachers, don't focus on that. Focus on these kids. How are we going to stop young men, young women, fighting and breaking in houses and, going home with no food and nothing to eat? The parents don't have no solution, what to do. When they come over here, they telling me stories about the other school, but I stop it. I said, listen, what they done over here is different.
Right.
This is what we doing here.
Right.
It's a new slate. Yes, I got your slate and everything you done, but it's a new slate here. Let's make it different and show them this. And listen, I can do great things, but I just need some help. And that's what I needed.
And understanding.
And understanding what's going on, because the world is wicked out there. And we dealing with a different population of students.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even want to go to school. They're not afraid of who they talk to. The police officer, well, I don't care. And that's the mindset, because no one is teaching them the right way to go. And that's why I always say, go back into prisons and try to get connected to their fathers. I had my students writing their fathers in prison and telling the kids, this is not a place that you want to be. So just trying to get to them, They cry because they want their fathers, they want their mothers. So how can we pull that together, even when they're in prison? So we start writing letters. We start pulling. We try, really try to start putting the families more intact. Fathers would write us back and, talk to their kids. And, mothers was kind of sad because, they're on their own raising 6 boys. I got a family here. That mom is raising 6 boys by herself, crying every day. I get a phone call crying every single day. Saying, I need help. Can you help me?
Okay, let's welcome Mr. Burbick to the channel. Let's tell him your role, Mr. Burbick, what you do in the school.
Well, right now, I'm the principal of Shepherd of All God's Children Learning Center. I've been the principal. This is my 2nd year as principal. I've been here. This is my 8th year here at Shepherd of All God's Children Learning Center.
Okay. Let's talk about what would you like to see different with the school systems, and what part would you play in that?
Well, what I'd like to see is, I think that something like Shepherd of All God's Children Learning Center is a very, very viable option for parents and for children, because you get kids out of the large school systems where there's not that much one-on-one attention, or you have a teacher-pupil ratio. Here, you have a teacher-pupil ratio here that's very small. It's not as large as it is in the public school system, and there's more one-on-one attention. And not only that, we have teachers here that have strong paraprofessionals who have strong teaching skills themselves, and that allows us to work individually with children and helping them build up their skills, whether they have autism, whether they have behavior problems, or whether they have the potential to be very, very good academic people. We do have some kids that are very, very smart here.
Oh, I believe that, and I agree with you 1,000% on being able to work more with the kids, more intimate, more one-on-one.
Yes.
I feel like that's the best way to do it.
Right.
If you really want to build a student up. Last question, Mr. Burbick, and we'll get you on your way. Tell us how Mrs. Kimberly may have inspired you in some ways since you've been working with her.
Well, the thing is, as I've gotten to know her for the past 8 years, we're basically comrades, and especially during the time where we had the COVID pandemic. We were a smaller school at that time in 2020, and Ms. Clinkscale and I would be out in the parking lot monitoring recess, and even though we have proper names, Mr. and Mrs., I've developed a strong professional affection for Ms. Clinkscale. I've read her book. I've seen her work, And we have a body of Christian believers that are here. We have not just the executive director, not just the principal, but a lot of our teachers are believers, they're Christians, and we're here as a band of brothers, just like the film that Clint Eastwood directed with World War II veterans. We're a band of brothers here, band of brothers and a band of sisters here that are binding together. This is a staff that's second to none. It's a great staff to work, and there is no one here that I don't like. I like everybody here. I mean, we are really bound together. We're bound together in one cause.
Thank you, Mr. Baby.
You're welcome. Okay.
Okay, so Mrs. Huckleberry, so you play what role in the business? Let's talk about it.
I have several roles. I do whatever Mrs. Clinkscale needs me to do. I open up in the morning, and I usually close in the evening. I'm in charge of transportation, food service, and like I said, anything else that she asked me to do, I do it. She's a great boss. I've been here 13 years.
Oh, wow. You've been here since back in Warren.
Yes, I started in Warren. I worked at Head Start, and then I was off for the summer, and they had an opening, and I didn't know anything about autistic kids, but she taught me.
Wow.
And she has trained me in a lot of stuff.
What, give us one or two ways that she may have inspired you to keep you motivated since you guys been working together?
Well, I was worried about, I had never dealt with autistic kids. So, she taught me that, you have to do certain things. If they're having a meltdown, you try and talk to them. You don't, yell at them or anything like that. And she has taught me how to do everything that I do here.
One more question. What would you like to see different in the school system? And what part would you play?
Different. I wish, we got more money like the bigger schools did, because, this is an old school. And, it would be nice to have that extra money that the bigger schools get. And then we could help, the children out more. Like at Christmas time, we get stuff from Toys for Tots, and all the kids get presents. So, that's a good thing.
Thank you, Mrs. Huckleberry.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Mrs. Joy and Mrs. Howie. Let's start with you, Mrs. Joy, since you first. Let's talk about what you do in the school and talk about what part you play in helping these kids become better students.
Hi. Well, my name is Miss Joy. I work with Shepherds of All God's Children Learning Center. I work with the kids by helping them work with them one-on-one, sometimes in groups. I help them with their reading, with their writing, and my goal for them is for them to know how to read and write at the end of the school year. So that's my goal, and my coworker, Mrs. Howie's goal as well. And I do what I gotta do to help these kids do better with their education.
That's great, Mr. Joy. Tell them your name and.
I'm sorry.
Just talk right into it.
My name is Mrs. Howie.
Okay, and then tell them your role and what part you play in helping these kids become better students.
Well, after teaching for 36 years in Youngstown City Schools,
Yes, ma'am.
I knew I still wanted to be involved in helping kids learn. I knew it was a need for our kids to just do better. And so I answered an ad from Mrs. Clinkscale to come here like 14 years ago. So I've been here 14 years. And my objective is for kids to learn so they could be effective and successful as adults in the world, because they need to know so much about math and reading and writing and analyzing and just all the academics. And I knew that I had the type of personality that would work well with students who were learning disabled as well as regular functioning kids. And so my objective is to just take a student who might not be able to read and get him to the point where he can read. Take a student who doesn't even understand what a sentence is and get them to not only be able to write a sentence, but a paragraph, a short story, a summary. And so my objective is for kids to learn. They have to be academically successful to make it in the world. And so we're trying to get them there.
Okay, so one last question for both of you guys. How do you guys work together? How do you guys work together and strategize together with coming up with different concepts to keeping the kids engaged and interested in what you guys are trying to teach them?
Well, I think that one of the main ways to get the kids involved is to make them participate. Not me standing up here talking all the time and me demonstrating, get them involved. And so we do a lot with the kids getting involved. For example, we were learning about the Bill of Rights. And so we went over amendment number 1, and some of them might be able to tell you the 5 rights, if they still remember the 5 parts of amendment number 1 to the Bill of Rights. But when we got to amendment 2, I knew that would be a good one for them to draw. We said you have to make a bumper sticker. And so they had to use the art skills, and they had to do a bumper sticker for amendment number 2, what is amendment number 2 about? What's your right, amendment number 2? Your right to do what?
Bumper sticker?
Yeah, say it again, Bella.
Right to bear arms.
To bear arms. And so we
job.
discussed how not these kind of arms, and I'd go around and I would touch them on the arms. And so we discovered, we used the dictionary, and they understood and learned that amendment number 2 is telling them they have the right to bear arms. And we really got analytical with it, because some of them were discussing, well, why should everybody be able to just walk around with a gun? And so we got into some of today's debate as to why can't everyone, because they were really concerned about anybody can buy a gun, and they really want to know more about anybody, because that's your right as an American, according to Amendment 2. And so we got into the issue of, well, what if somebody is always drunk? And what if somebody is crazy? And they were saying they can buy a gun. So we really got into it once they understood the basis of Amendment number 2, your right to bear arms. So just involve them. And so drawing the bumper stickers really did something to help them better remember. So I think if you get them involved in whatever it is, like just now when you walked in, they were finding a grammar mistake that they had made when they do their morning sentences. So they had to find a sentence of their choice where they had made a mistake. They had to come up and teach it to the class what they did wrong with the grammar, because they remember when they get involved. If you involve them, they begin to really learn more than this, just me preaching to them, on some skill.
I like that. I like that. You want to add anything to that? Or?
The way we teach them as well is doing fun lessons. Like sometimes we have bingos. So once in a while we do that to have them active and be more how should I say
just involved.
Yeah, like more fun and not just like papers and papers or workbooks and workbooks. Like Ms. Howie said earlier, like this morning we were telling them to go to the board and teach what their mistakes was in their sentence to the whole class. So being like, I would say like united in the class and give them the opportunity to have that, independence on them, for them to be able to help their own classmates, and stuff. Right. So it's just a matter of how you have the ability and the method for you to teach. So, me and her, we always constantly talking and communicating of how we're going to do our lessons and stuff. So, it's fun. That's my major thing for the lessons that we teach. Should be fun and not bored.
Right. Good job. Thank you, Mrs. Joy. Thank you,
You're
Mrs.
welcome.
Howard.
No, thank
Great
you.
job, ladies. Okay, so my name is Jeff Martin. I own a business myself. I own J&J Complete Lawn Care. I started that business during COVID. I began to fall in love with not the business of cutting grass itself, but just the business. I ended up falling in love with building businesses. So I started studying business, teaching myself business, and that's how I got on this journey. So now what I do is I go business to business, interview entrepreneurs, and teach people how to pretty much start their businesses, build them, and grow them. I'm still a small business, so I just pretty much show people how to go from 0 to 100K within a year in their first year doing business. So that's what I'm pretty much passionate about. So hopefully one day when you guys get older, you guys can see some more videos and see some more work and maybe get you guys some businesses and whatnot started. And this is DA. We work together. He pretty much do all the stuff behind the scene. Nobody never sees him, but he pretty much do most of the work. So let's give him the credit. I just do this part. Yeah, that's pretty much what we do. So, well, before we get to this, Mrs. Kim, would you say being a private school business owner has allowed you to be more intimate, like with your students and your staff? Because it seems like the kids know who you are, and that's not the kids don't know who the owner of Bonnie Rogers is or Cheney. You know what I mean? So, how have that allowed you to be like I said, more intimate with your kids and your students and your staff?
I think we're small. So I know every student. They know me. I have an open door policy. They can come in and sit and talk to me when they have problems. So I think it's, being a large school, it's hard for a principal to know every student. It's just like a church.
Mm-hmm.
If you got a mega church, I don't know if they know every, person in there.
Right.
So with us, it's smaller. So, and private is a little different than charter, non-charter. So.
Okay, and then also with you being private now, and you're responsible for a lot more, and you showing us right now, you got a situation going on with the gym where you renovating the gym. Let's talk about, like I said, some of the obstacles that come with running this business. Let's talk about that.
Well, 2 years ago, we did receive a grant to remodel our gym.
Yeah.
But our building is almost like 100 years old. 2 more years, it'll be 100 years old. So it was built different. A lot of our pipes and stuff is up underneath, the gym.
Oh, okay.
So all the pipes. So you have to go up underneath it. It's not on the walls that you can be able to fix. So we just had someone to come over today and said it looks very bad up underneath.
Okay.
So it's going to take a lot of money to probably, fix the pipes up underneath. Then we can be able to start with the surface and, building it back up.
Are you able to deal with the stress that comes with the business, still stay level-headed and still keep your composure, still deal with the kids, able to still deal with what you got going on at home? And let's talk about that.
Well, it's
I know
rough.
This ain't easy. I know this ain't easy.
It's rough. And, when I first started, it was really bad. I was losing sleep. I was getting sick. Didn't know where the money was coming from. But your story can take you a long way. And my story took me a long way. We had, my security guard who came at my building in Warren when we were going through troubles there. And I told him, I said, listen, I'm going through some trouble, but with my roof, and we got to get $30,000. I don't know where it's gonna come from. It's crazy when I tell you this, but God told me go blow in every crack. He said blow in every crack. We had so many cracks, in our building and leaks and I didn't know. I said, where this gonna come from? But when he stopped by, he said, I'll be back. Within 2 days, He came back with a check for $30,000 to get my roof, completed and get it done. But I think it's just the faith. You just have to have the faith, and you got to believe him. And that's the only person I really, when I go through trials and tribulations, it's, you can't go to your coworkers, you can't go to mama or daddy, but through it all, I had to get on my knees and say, okay, God, I'm gonna do it. Even though blowing in the cracks, I was like, man, this don't even seem real. I'm going around the building blowing, but, it happened. And we got the roof done. And I think, just with things that come our way, it seems like somebody always come. And somebody say, how's everything? You need anything at the right time, because you can lose a lot of sleep. And you can worry about a lot of different things that's going on when you don't really have the faith and you don't really know exactly what to do and how to do and when to do. It started causing problems, even with my family, because I was always here. I was on the roof. I was, tearing up the floor because I didn't have the finance, to hire someone to come do it. So with my skill, working at Local 935, I had a little bit of skills to be able to do what I putting things together. It wasn't right, but I stopped the bleeding and some of the projects that we had.
So, Mrs. Kim, if for somebody like me or for somebody that's watching, and if I wanted to get into school business right now, can you just give me 3 steps that I could easily implement that I could get my foot in the door?
The first one is a business plan. It's your business plan, let me go back, your vision. Your vision first. Whatever your vision is.
Follow that.
You got to follow that. And it is proper steps that you have to, follow. Step 2, you got to have a business plan. Who is the people that you need to connect up with? If I get a business, the health department, the fire department, human research. You have to be able to focus on them 3 things to be able to open up a business. You can't just go in there and say, I'm going to start a school. The connections that you have to come together. So your business plan should have everything in there and that you need, because mine was different. Like I said, I had to get my 501(c)(3). So now I'm a nonprofit, and I have to follow the guidelines with that, Second of all, get my business plan, how I wanted it. I wanted the school that no kids wanted. I wanted the baddest to the baddest to come, because I wanted to show them through that I can be able to help them. I can be able to, take them to the next level. So the 3 steps I would give you is first your vision. Have your vision. If God, but they say, make the vision and make it plain. Second of all, make sure you have the right attorney. You want to have somebody in the community for like the fire department. You want to have somebody for the health department.
Relationships.
You want to have that relationship so you can be able to get everything done. I had to go find teachers, the right key people who was going to see my vision so they could step into my vision to be able to follow the vision.
That's powerful.
Everyone could come in and tell you how to run your business, your lawn service, but it comes from you because God gave you that vision. So you got to be able to hire people so they can be able to step into your vision, to be able to follow, to be able to make it big.
That's powerful, y'all. She said, make sure you got a vision. First, follow your vision. Then you need to leverage your relationships. Then make sure you got a solid business plan. That's good. That's good. Where would you like to see shepherds of all God's children in the next 5 years, Mrs. Kim?
The next 5 years, I would like to have our own football field, our own track for Special Olympics. Want to have a gym that is equipped that we can bring families in to be able to watch the games and, excited about coming in this building. And we're trying to get it there. We're trying to write grants. We're trying to get connected up with the right people, Quentin, he comes, his hands, he was in the service and, he know how to use his hands. So just bringing people involved with this school to be able to help build this school. Kimberly cannot build this school on her own.
Right.
So in the next 5 years, I would like to see a new building, a new different face. In 2 years, it'll be 100 years old.
A new infrastructure.
So, yes. So if we can get some things to be able to do that in the next 5 years, I think that we can be able to take the school in a whole nother different level.
Yeah, because now you're talking about you can be able to start having your own little teams and whatnot.
Yes.
And start doing adding different little programs. So that'd be powerful.
Yeah.
I like to ask everybody this at the end. What does trust, relationships, accountability, principles mean to you? Trust. You can go with trust first.
Okay, with trust, you got to have somebody that you can. It was hard for me to trust people because I was burnt. And it was people who was just undercover and doing all kinds of things for me. But one of my administrators said, Kim, you have to trust someone. You can't, when they bring them in, you have to lean on God and let God. And I'm sorry because this is me. I don't bring it into my school, but this is just my personal thing that I'm saying. I got to have a relationship with him to be able to guide you and show you. I see a lot going on. But when I first started, I would get angry and I would say, you know what, I'm just going to let them go. But I had to learn how to deal with people that come in with different kind of personality and because they're not like me. So God had to teach me how to deal with people. I said, teach me how to deal with difficult people. So he taught me, because even someone who's not doing what you would want them to do, it's always something that they can help you to do.
Right.
So I had to learn that, but it took years to learn how to deal with difficult people and learn how to trust people. Because when you've been through something, it's just like, you're like, dang, I'm doing good. I'm trying to help this person. But, you hear all kinds of things. So I had to shut my ears sometimes and I would watch and I would just write things down. I'd begin to write things down and say, how can I deal with it?
That's good. I'm gonna use that one.
So I started when
I'm taking them.
So I just deal with it. So I started writing it down and I started really talking to other people who was in the same situation that I was in. And they would help me and they would build me up and go from there.
That's good. So, we sat down with you for long enough. You big on relationships. So let's talk about relationships.
Relationship is big because if you have a relationship with your staff, they could take you places. Without a relationship with your staff, you're gonna have problems. So my main thing is I pull them in and I talk to them and I let them know how important relationships, is. So, and we understand. I understand them. They understand me now, now we can trust each other, so it's just like a game of football. If the quarterback, he have to have a relationship with his offense and his defense and, and try to pull them together to win a game. So, we want to win this school. So I need your relationship so we can be connected. I've done something with broken communication. Mm-hmm. So with that, how can we make it? How can we build on it? Talk about, they would come in there and talk about it, write it down so I could begin to look at it and start doing some strategies and say how we can pull it tighter together for our relationship.
Accountability.
Yep.
Let's talk about accountability.
Accountability, oof. It's just, I want to see with my staff, if I give you a position to do, if you're going to follow through with it. And I found out that a lot of my teachers, they're following through. Mm. So if I tell them to do something, if I ask them to do this, I want to see if you're going to be, right, responsible for that. So I think with that, it's just really just watching and seeing how they're gonna follow through with that. The accountability. If I tell them something to do, what they do it. It's just like an example as with my son, him and DA, they had basketball games here. And I would ask them a question, make sure that if you say 7 o'clock, make sure you follow through with that. Your accountability is say, this is what I told her, just follow through. And they had to learn. And, they done a good job. But at first it's kind of hard. But just keep on throwing it out there and letting them know, accountability is really strong. And if somebody say something, you got to hold on to that because they're going to watch you. And they're going to see if you're going to follow through with that.
Principles. Last one. You kind of pretty much tackled it with the accountability, honestly, but if you want to add to it.
Just mainly the same thing.
Yeah.
It's really the same thing. It's just really following through and seeing what your staff, is doing. So I think, with that, just following through.
Let's welcome Mr. Quinn. Okay, Mr. Quinn, let's tell them, over there we see you security, we see you the one that's suplexing people. You the one that's putting people in the chokehold.
Yeah.
Let's tell them what you do and how long you and Miss Kim been partners.
Well, we've been family, because that's my family. We're cousins.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
sweet.
Yeah. All my life. I don't know, God works in a strange way. I hadn't seen her when she was talking about a roof when she was down in Warren. I hadn't seen my cousin probably in years. And it was something just told me to stop by, so I stopped by. She was telling me about a roof. I said, oh, God. So I knew some pastors and stuff, and I said, give me some time, just a little bit. And they came up, called my brother, he called me back, hey, we're gonna give her a roof. I said, okay. $30,000, she got a roof. So, and then, every time I hadn't seen her, I think in another year or two, and I found out she was here. And she needed some fire extinguishers, and I don't know, God has always attracted me to my cousin, and so, and now she hired me because I'm retired, and because I was in the military, National Guard and active duty. I was over in Iraq, 22 years, with service and stuff like that. But she hired me. I said, okay, I'll take it on. I see her, going through sometime with, not just the children, but the parents, not bringing their children to school and not doing the right thing. And her heart she has a big heart.
Trust me.
Let me tell you something, her heart is giant size, and I said, I don't know how you do it. And I told her, I said, wow. I said, you have it. Some people just don't have it like she has it, And I said, I don't even know if I can do some of the things that you do. Because she said, no, she does.
A lot of courage,
She doesn't. And she don't run away from a fight. She takes it on, head on, you know what I mean? And that's the thing that I see in her. And I told her, we're getting older. And I said, I just want her, like she said, she's going to bring this school back up. And I believe she is. She's going to do it. Right now, it's like football, basketball. Every team, you have your seasons where you're winning. First 5 years or whatever, then you have your drought years, you know what I'm saying? And you know what? You're just going through, and God's going to see how you handle these years before He promotes you to the bigger years, and which is coming back. And she's handling. Yes, and you could just see that it's going to happen for her big time, because she don't give up. She don't give up, and she's pulling me right along with her the whole time. So. I can't say enough about my cousin, but she's doing it. She's doing it more than, because I ain't gonna lie. If it was me, my towel would have been at your feet right now. I'd have thrown in the towel a long time ago. But she don't give up. And she pushes me. And that's great. And she pushes all her teachers that way. We could do it, And she's a great motivator. Great motivator. And and she don't take no, and she don't take the back seat. So you got to give her the driver's seat, because she go. That's how she does. She drive it home. So that's how she does it.
Good job.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother. Tell them what you got going on.
Also, I wrote a book Nobody But God. Then I wrote another one, I wrote it towards my husband who had passed away, but he loved me in the dark. So the book, they're awesome. You can also contact the school at area code 330-707-4555. If you want to read more about my story, how I got started, the books is awesome. So, Can You Love Me in the Dark and Nobody But God. You can get them here at 610 North Lakeview Avenue, Youngstown, Ohio, 44509. You can reach us at, call us at 330-707-4555.